Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 7 of the Whiskey Podcast. I am your host, Shieldaig.
I am your other host, Nate Fu.
And welcome to our special 4th of July episode.
Woo! If you hear any explosions going off in the background, that is not the end of the world, that is fireworks. I don't live in a bad neighborhood. I really, really don't.
Could be shady sometimes.
That's because of the trees.
That's true. And if you like that pun, there'll be far more to follow. But first, what are we drinking today?
Well, I think we're drinking a very special gift that was given to you by your wife for Father's Day. It's a Shieldaig 21-year-old, if I'm not mistaken?
21-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey.
Oh, this stuff is amazing. It's smooth. It was... I don't think I'm allowed to disclose how much we paid for it. It wasn't horrible. It can be acquired relatively.
It was under $100.
Yes. But it came with a little note for Father's Day that you can have a glass of this when you reach a specific set of milestones. The one that we hit was...
Well, we had our first Father's Day, which is when I was gifted it, and that's when Nate Fu and I tasted it. But officially, over the last 2 nights, my little Ewok has officially slept in her own bed in her own room for the first time. So, that is quite the reason to celebrate for any of you with kids.
It's quite phenomenal. Ooh, yeah, that's going to leave a mark. With my 2, it was very important that you sleep train. We were very good with my oldest, Brooke. And that kind of went to hell when our second was born, and we kind of had to split forces and split attention. And so when little Ewok arrived, we made sure to go. It's rough, but get it out of the way.
Yeah, we had a case study to work from.
Yeah. We got that sleep training done often early, and it's actually really fast. 5 months to be sleeping in her own crib.
She just turned 5 months this past... June, so 5 days ago, and officially starting the whole sleep training.
How's that working out for you?
It's actually been really good. Last night she slept 2 4-hour blocks straight, and just had those 2 feedings in between. So I've actually gotten to sleep again. It's kind of insane.
How's mom handling the transition of not having her little bundle of joy in her arms?
We had to put on white noise. Because both of us have gotten so used to hearing it. But I think Mama Bear's doing all right. She likes the freedom of it. Mom Brain is still telling her that, oh my God, she has to take care of her baby. But I think reality is setting in that, no, this is better for everyone. So the one thing we've been very adamant about is trying to set a schedule. Because with whatever work situations come back to both of us come... the next couple months, we're going to be on schedules, and we're going to have to be able to put her down and drop her off at daycare or things like that. So being able to set a routine just makes that easier for all of us going into it right now.
And again, lessons learned from the previous case studies.
Yes.
We were very good about things with the first, and then we got fast and loose when the second one came around because we're literally winging it. So yeah, we undid a lot of good stuff we did.
We've also had a lot of science and other people's experiences to rely on.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually bought this sleep sack called the Nested Bean, and that has been a huge lifesaver in the whole sleep training thing. And basically it's a sleep sack that has a little bit of a weight on it. Not much, but just enough for like a gentle hand resting. And she's adapted to that exceptionally well. And I can't give that enough props. In fact, I'll probably end up writing a review of it soon enough.
Nice. Yeah,
because they've
I
been
kind of
incredible.
think of it like it's a thunder shirt for babies.
It is. It's 100% a thunder shirt for babies. But, that's part of it is, you wait too long, you start dealing with the children having separation anxiety.
Right.
But if you do it too early, there's the 4-month regression where they start sleeping like a baby, quote unquote. And, they actually do normal human sleeping, but they don't know how to soothe themselves to sleep or put themselves to sleep. So it's been a whole learning experience that we've all probably gotten a little grayer from, but...
There's a reason this episode isn't being broadcast on Twitch. No, that's a lie.
Yeah. Well, there is a reason. It's just
Yeah.
not the reason that we're implying right now.
With the holiday weekend, we kind of switched up locations, and I thought I had a good setup that I could remote get everything done without too much hassle. And well, lo and behold, no good deed goes unpunished, and I can't reach the mothership to click the start stream button.
He's also not wearing pants. This has been a problem that continuously happens from his entire family. It's weird.
Trade secrets, man. Trade secrets. Although I am about ready to jump in this pool that you all don't get to see. This is a shame.
It's a nice pool.
Yeah.
It's rented.
Well, yeah. We'll get back up to snuff next week. The one upside is we don't have the active critique coming from the other room.
No, they're just passively judging. That's kind of the status quo. I may have heard that I was correct a few times over the last couple weeks.
No.
Not right, and they wouldn't speak into, the microphone to confirm it, but, I see hope.
So yeah, parenting has been fun. Fireworks going off since basically the end of March. It's become, I don't know, I'm kind of numb to it now.
Right.
And thankfully so are my kids, so tonight should actually go rather smoothly with all the explosions going off in the valley. We might actually get some sleep.
That'd be nice.
That would be nice. I expect it to be pretty uproarious, though, with, again, we're operating in these times, these strange, weird times. Everyone is kind of doing stuff from home. Barbecues, no group gatherings, supposedly, but everyone's getting together, and I'm sure we're just going to hear fireworks everywhere tonight, and sirens, and hopefully what happened to a friend in another forum doesn't happen to any of us or any of you. So, and that was a errant firework went off 2 days ago and ended up catching their neighbor's house on fire.
Nice.
And burned it to the ground because people were being irresponsible. So please, by the time you listen to this and it's already too late, be responsible with your fireworks. That's my PSA. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Right. Well, now, the fun part about all of this is that while we're worried about blowing things up, we also are in a situation where our COVID-19 measures have drastically failed.
Oh, imagine
apparently, if we just pretend it doesn't exist or pretend it'll go away on its own, is not the most scientific way of dealing with things. So we're in the U.S. currently topping 100,000 new cases a day.
Something like that.
And Southern California is getting quite a bit of it. So we'll see what happens. Meanwhile, it's July, August. Teachers and students are supposed to start heading back to school, so we'll see what that looks like.
Especially considering, we're married to teachers.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We've shut the state back down. We opened it up, and everyone went, oh, well, since it's opened up, that must mean everything's good, and started forgoing their their protective measures, and this is where we are. So, back into hiding we go, back into seclusion we go, and hopefully we learned a valuable lesson from the error in caution that we have taken over the past month, I guess.
As Americans, I doubt it.
Right. We're going to blow shit up tonight. Yeah, that kind of says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's mixed bag of feelings today. It's, again, I'm very happy to be in a country where I'm allowed to have the podcast like this, have a forum where I can, if I want to, I can say, fuck Trump. and I don't have the full breadth of the government coming down on me censoring everything I have to say. So
Very true.
there's positives and negatives to it.
Yeah. Well, we also have the chance of changing how things progress in the future as a country. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. I personally would like to see a lot of these things rectified come November, but it's taken hundreds of years to get to where we are now, and we keep sliding backwards. So let's see what kind of progress we actually make as humanity.
No, I mean, we've had some positive changes come out of this. Case in point, if you listen to the last episode, we brought up some drama in the gaming community that we're all involved in, with some streamers being outed as abusers and predators. And as these things develop and as the stories get delved into, one of them decided to kind of push back and come out with a hour and 15-minute long apology tour, not apology tour.
Well, he had an apology that he then revoked and put out a new video.
Right.
That was his side of everything.
Right. I'll give him credit. He took ownership. He did not deflect the acts themselves.
Mm-hmm.
He did deflect the intent and then kind of put it back on the victims. Very shitty behavior.
Yeah.
That's kind of, you own up and you do better. You don't turn around and try to threaten litigation on anyone that has continued to open up about their stories.
He became very caring about the whole response.
Very much so. And as such, the powers that be, the platform that he is on, took action, and took quite swift action, all things considered, and banned him from the platform later that day. We have yet to find out if it's still permanent, or if it's 3-day. The details on that haven't come out. Let's hope it's permanent. Let's hope it sets a good example of what not to do in these situations.
Well, the nice thing is we've seen from the community overall is a desire to learn from it.
Right.
Developers have stepped up. Specific props to Bungie and their attitude, not just with this particular situation, but with Black Lives Matters. There's a whole post to the fact that the senior leadership of Bungie actively participated in the protests, and got themselves in, some basic legal trouble for protesting what they thought was right. They've also put out not only a Be Heard fundraiser for BLM, but also an allyship support system for LGBTQ plus players in the community.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing a huge push for mental health and general community support out there. Guardians MH, which both Nate Fu and I associate and support, has been getting quite a bit of rise from there, and a number of other organizations, it turns out, that are also with similar mindsets are starting to pop up, with training for streamers and moderators and things like that. But ultimately, a lot of these acts, we'll see how long they survive and how people end up taking the full resources and credit for it moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to make this space a better space.
Mm-hmm.
A little caring and understanding, a little more tolerance for certain things and a lot less tolerance for other things.
Well, I think come the end of July, August, we're going to start seeing some massive changes across the board. And not necessarily because of any of these individual movements, but economically speaking, that's
Sure.
when, as of right now, the extra unemployment supplements expire. So where people were able to continue having a normal life and able to support these organizations, it's going to end up turning drastically on its head, as people are, taken from managing day to day to not knowing where they're going to pay for their next meal from.
Yeah, August is going to be a real interesting time. Schools start back up, so we're going to have kids that are going to be, I don't know, some are going back to school, some aren't, depends on what the districts involved decide to do, which makes people going back to work going to be interesting. Daycare is going to be an interesting proposition. What do you do with all this manpower? How do you take care of your kids when you got to go back to work? How does that all look? And then we're also going to start that, that's the start of the push for the November elections.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, for a lot of families that are low and middle income, school is the only reason you're able to get two incomes coming into the house.
Right.
Because you've got someone who can watch the kids during the day. As soon as that changes and differs, we're suddenly in a situation where people may not be able to support those differentiating incomes.
Yeah, I mean, and you also have, for some families, the school year was the only time their kids got 3 square.
Mm-hmm.
We're fortunate enough that we don't need to be on any of those programs yet.
Mm-hmm.
But for some there are, and this is, going back to school is a good thing for them. It's getting back to some semblance of normalcy. It's socialization, but again, what is that going to look like in a COVID environment? And then how our local officials react to that, and the political basis on that. It's going to get ugly, and
it's going to get very ugly very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And as family members to teachers, very often it's the mechanization of how do you support the child care and taking care of the children, but there's also the simple forgetting of the risks that these teachers and administrators are putting themselves in order to provide these services to the community. There's been a huge push, and I think recently LA County did a $150 million budget cut to Los Angeles Police Department.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you shifted that money towards other programs, just remember, teachers are still drastically underpaid, and 95, if not all, of the resources that they need for a classroom, now also cleaning and sanitation and those sort of things, has to come out of their own pocket.
Yep. It's rough, to say the least.
And I know we're not the only ones in this situation. Collectively, from people all over the U.S., we've heard about it. And, as we were, intimating about earlier, the American culture or mindset has done far worse damage to our ability to, contain and move forward than ever before.
Yeah, and there are those out there that see the wearing of a mask as a removal of freedoms, and I don't understand the mindset. Sure, they're uncomfortable. Sure, it's inconvenient, but I don't know where that's infringing on a freedom.
Well,
per se.
There was an interesting article posted by, I want to say NPR. We'll have to fact check that, but it was,
Wives get on it.
Right? Masks are to the white male what condoms are.
Okay.
It's a threat to their masculinity and to their authority. By wearing a mask, you're showing fear and those sort of things. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to, and it's a pretty simple comparison of how the U.S. has been divided over the last several years, if not longer, is you can't teach people to care about another individual.
Right.
And that's kind of the root of the problem, is the mask isn't worn to protect you, it's to protect everyone around you.
It's funny. I think even our local governor kind of respun the narrative on that to... Yeah, there was a joke made early on when people started pushing back against the masks that said, if you had said that wearing a mask was a brave thing, it was the right, not necessarily the right thing, but strong men wear masks, just like back,
right.
With breast cancer awareness years and years ago, when it was like real men wear pink,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked. But we started this whole narrative with wearing masks is you wear a mask to protect others.
Right.
So you appealed to someone's sensibility to care for their community and not themselves and not their own image, and it laughably backfired. So it's being spun that in a real men wear pink kind of narrative, and let's see if people start actually wearing their masks and not being labeled as
and the fact
scared
that
by
wearing a mask
Yeah.
and the existence of this virus, which has killed over 100,000 Americans, is a political conversation is ridiculous.
Everything this year has been politicized, and again, that's a normal thing for an election year. The 4-year cycle, when we get into an election year, or even the every 6 year when we get a representative election,
Right.
right, things get politicized to a extreme degree.
I mean, the fact that we've gotten to a point where we have to question the realistic fundamental rights of human beings again.
I
And
just
laws
I still
that
don't
we
understand
as
why it's in
humanity-
question.
Right. Well, in laws that we helped put into play on the international level, we're choosing to ignore. Like, there's some major Geneva Convention failures that America has, done over the last couple of years.
Sure.
And couple weeks. But, so, thinking ahead, as this is the 4th of July, this is the Independence Day, and we're starting to ramp towards the new school year, where do we go from here?
Well, we keep grinding away and keep doing what we think is right, and hopefully, there's enough groundswell of people that have enough common sense that we can turn this around, that we can...
Common sense isn't so common.
No, if common sense were common, everyone would have it. But yeah, I think... I have hope. I've seen enough come out of all of this that shows me there are enough good people in this world that can at least keep pace with the negativity. And that's something I don't think I could have said in years past.
Right.
Right? We've lit candles under both sides, both good and bad, and you really know where people stand now. And I've got friends on both sides, some that are very quickly becoming not friends because of their digging their heels in the sand on some pretty indefensible stances, right?
Mm-hmm. And there's always the common push that, like, don't let politics interfere with your life. Like, well, that's a very entitled and privileged position.
Sure.
When you're questioning someone's right to exist, that's not a political statement.
Right, or when you're challenging someone's right to defend themselves.
Right.
Right, or their right to say certain things. Right, these are all things that have been coming up for years that have been spoken so much louder this year.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Second Amendment, First Amendment. What's the... I don't want the other one that's being...
25th?
25th? Sure.
25th's the one about, if someone is not stable enough to act as president, how you'd go about removing them.
Okay. So off the negative topic. How have you been for the past 2 weeks? You've been having some fun, getting some gaming in?
I've been getting some gaming in. Really enjoying the current season of Destiny 2, the Season of Arrival. It's a game that I struggled with for a while getting back into, but this season has really hooked me a bit more. Alpha 19 for 7 Days to Die has been released on experimental, and that's a game that's been in alpha for like 5 years at this point, but the team is doing exceptionally well.
Yeah, the gaming has been good, and again, we've seen a lot of streamers that are really getting back on the platform. We had Mixer get shut down.
Oh, that's a fun one. Yeah, let's talk about that a bit more.
Yeah, one of currently are, I think, for the next couple of days, 4 major streaming platforms. Twitch being the one that we stream on, Mixer being Microsoft's competitor to that. Then YouTube, of course, has been around since the dawn of time.
Right.
In terms of that. And then Facebook is the big up-and-comer. And Mixer decided to shutter their doors very suddenly and very unceremoniously.
And quote-unquote partnered with Facebook moving forward.
Yeah, they just kind of offered it up, and Facebook said, we'll take them, and they said, cool by us. Take whatever deal you want to give our partners, great. We're done with this. Have a nice day.
Although Microsoft did do pretty well by making sure that Facebook gaming would then be done on their backbone. The Microsoft backbone.
Sure. Right? It was a sound business move. So now we're down to 3, and a lot of the Mixer streamers were very jilted by this maneuver. And Facebook, unfortunately, doesn't have the best reputation for its moderation of the platform.
Come to Facebook. Your grandma can watch you play.
Right. There's some upsides to it. One of the upsides to Facebook that I think is actually kind of crippling it is anyone that signs up with an account for Facebook Gaming and wants to participate or watch a stream is literally using their own account. You can't really make phony screen names that you can hide behind. And that's a great boon to the platform, because you don't get the level of toxicity that you do on Twitch when you have keyboard warriors hiding behind screen names.
Right, but at the same time, it exposes you a lot more to the trolls and the assholes that will dox and will attack. There's a reason I don't use my main name on here or website or anything like that.
It exposes the streamer as well. And
exactly.
In my own personal experience, when I started streaming, I was streaming to all 4 platforms at once, just to kind of see where one would take a footing. And I set up an account with a secondary email address that had nothing to do with my own personal accounts, and everything was good. Facebook barked back to me and said, "Hey, is this a phony account? Because we see some similarities with another user with the same..." They literally, image searched my profile picture and said, "That picture shows up somewhere else. Is this a hacked account on my personal account?" I went, "No, this is not. I set this up as a gamer profile, and I wish to protect my personal information." And then Facebook said, "Okay, cool, we're fine with that," and let me set up the account. And then suddenly one day, about a month ago, started sending that account out to my entire friends list from my personal one.
Yeah, you might know this person.
Right. Very, very, very bad play, Facebook. And so it's limiting. You get a very true experience on Facebook, but you're not protected at all. And Facebook isn't going to protect you from any personal attacks that could come thereof. Sure, you can find the person that's attacking you, but that's great. That all becomes after the fact.
Right. And, for a while it's going to be the platform wars, and it's nice that individual content creators have been able to get ahead regardless of which platform they stream on. But, Microsoft paid out several tens of millions of dollars to Ninja and Shroud when they closed their accounts, to the fact that neither of them really needs to stream anymore.
No.
Neither of them needs to do anything, but there's something like 600,000 streamers that have been at least associates across the board.
That middling status. They're not hyper popular, but they're still kind of making a living off of the platform.
And suddenly they change rules like this. Twitch recently had the DMCA issues that attacked a lot of the streamers. And it wasn't that it was an unknown, it was just how poorly it was handled, and forced a lot of them to have to pull and change their content very drastically and very quickly, or else feel major repercussions.
Right.
Facebook for a while, or constantly, is changing its algorithm, so people may or may not be exposed. Facebook gaming is huge, but there's only 2 or 3 people that actually appear regularly on my feed.
Right. And those are the ones with paid contracts.
Right.
Imagine that.
And YouTube, YouTube has drastically changed the game on a weekly basis since YouTube was, first created decades ago. And, as a profession, you start wondering how good and how stable that is.
Well, in YouTube, their biggest thing that's dicey is they just, up in one day decide we're going to demonetize every bit of content you have based off of some obscure rule in our terms of service that was never actively enforced before and really was unclear to begin with.
But even Twitch does that same thing. Like, most of the problems that people are suddenly getting banned for now were things that they never enforced and told people we're not really enforcing this.
Sure, but you could still monetize. Your subscriptions were unaffected. Your ad revenue was unaffected. Whereas on YouTube, you just lost a source of income on every past bit of content you have, and then you were wondering when you go live tomorrow if you could make money off your existing content.
Well, I think it comes down to across the board, and it's something that doesn't just apply to streaming. It applies to people now with W-2s. As we're seeing, is that you can't rely on one single source of income. You can't put all of your eggs in one basket and hope things work. For content creators, people that are influencers and personalities, they need to be leveraging their social medias, and they need to be able to transition quickly by already having some foundations set up in different locations. For people with W-2s, I'll be blunt. Part of the reason I want to develop this blog and be helpful is I want to potentially do affiliate marketing through it.
Sure.
You know, you look at people like the
Well, I mean,
Roman and
your
Goth
review
and
for the
Kevin
Sleep
and Darkness.
Sack today is a perfect example of that. No one, Sleep Sack didn't contact you and say, hey, could you review this product for us?
Right.
Right? But you are very happy with that product. And
It's a good product.
It's a great product. One of my friends that also does a parenting type podcast, one of them just had their kid. There were two new dads that were dads in waiting. One actually had their child.
Let's give them a shout out. Is this
The Virgin on Stupid?
Yep.
Yeah. Great bunch of guys over in the UK. And then just had...
Congratulations again.
Congratulations. James, I believe it was, that had his... or was it Alan? I'm not sure.
Well, to the Virgin
Right.
on Stupid
Yes.
community, congratulations.
Congratulations. But they had recently done an episode on odd gifts you get as a new parent. And one of them that they were kind of chuckling over was this thing called Frida Balls. And if you don't know what Frida Balls are, it's, men's boxers that have a built-in protective device for your junk.
Nate Fu and I also received a pair each for Father's Day.
Right. And I was chuckling at this because I knew they were coming and they had this episode and all I had to do was just laugh because I knew I was getting a pair. And as someone that has tried them, I'm probably not going to give them the most glowing review. So there you go.
Size does matter.
Size does matter. Yes. Yeah, they weren't the most comfortable thing in the world, and I wouldn't say they were the most protective thing in the world. It's a great concept, but in its design was questionably executed.
And it's funny, but also, if you have kids, realistic. Nate Fu has received the people's elbow to his nuts on several occasions from his 2- and 3-year-olds.
Oh, my 3-year-old is that right height that she can literally run headfirst into the twigs and berries. So that was the onus on getting those. The Frida Balls was I was constantly taking shots, and not in the good, salt and lime way. Yeah.
Aren't kids great?
Aren't kids great? Yeah. So yeah, I mean that kind of thing. The affiliate marketing. Again, when you find a product that's good, you can rave about it. When you find a product that isn't quite living up to its snuff, you can rave about it. And since I'm not tied to that manufacturer, since I'm not sponsored by the Frida company, I can freely make that.
Right. And a lot of these situations are, just kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier. The goal is that you're not reliant on one single source of income as being your only protection. And what happens if things change? Right now we're 35 million people on unemployment.
Something like that.
And the entertainment industry for sure isn't going to recover probably till 2022 from everything that's happening at this point.
Yeah, easily.
And
yeah. So, anyways, with the streaming communities, Twitch has been very welcoming towards Mixer users coming over, welcoming them back. It used to be an us versus them, Team Purple, Team Blue, and even the Twitch platform realizes how crappy that situation was. And says, okay, and anyone coming back over, let's see what we can do to help you recoup your partner status, your affiliate status, get you back up to where you can monetize again and
also
earn a living.
Facebook has actually done a really good job at welcoming people over and trying to give them support.
Yeah, Facebook is, of course, they're going to fall on that sword and say, hey, bring us more revenue streams, whereas it's the Twitch community that I'm seeing.
Yeah. But also, a lot of the bigger names that had signed with Facebook are going out of their way to try and support.
Right. They want the platform to grow, too, and have some legitimacy.
Exactly.
Because, again, everybody realizes having that level of competition is healthy. It's not a us versus them mentality. It's the more that you can innovate and expand upon this platform, the better it is for everyone. Mixer's features that they came out with pushed a lot towards Twitch. We got bits out of Twitch as another Twitch as another method of monetization. The way they roll their ads now, it's
Gift cards are now available on Twitch.
right. The Amazon Prime thing was a big pushback against Mixer in trying to retain users. and trying to monetize for its streamer base. So
Right.
good things came from it. The faster than light technology that Mixer had, Twitch is now doing near real time as well. They've expanded upon that. That would have never happened had Mixer not had that as a feature.
Well, so I come back to Twitch as a platform has screwed up. So have most other platforms in some capacity. And it seems the community itself is the power behind it. And a lot of these more recent Me Too movement concerns that are coming out, the existence of GCX as a platform for change and for gaming is good. Is it the community that has the strength, and how do they take a more active role in directing and leading it forward? I think that at the end of the day, it's just going to be, these platforms exist, which tools are the best, but who are the leaders that are
Right.
actively changing the world?
So, yeah, that's our little bit of a rant for the week, for the next 2 weeks. I think we're going to still stay on our 2-week
I think 2 weeks.
pace.
At this point, so much happens in 2 weeks, it takes a year to cover. But I also think that if we try to rush it too much, we kind of lose the easy banter of this.
Sure.
But if you guys have opinions or want to see other sort of content or want to potentially come on and join the conversation, feel free to reach out to Nate Fu or I, and let's see what we can do about getting you involved.
Yeah, of course. This podcast, while it's so much for us, we're trying to bring information to you. And if there's some information that you'd like or something you'd like us to talk about, there are avenues in which to do that through our direct Twitter profiles. ChewDad at 2020, mine GG Nate Fu, and then the one for the actual podcast itself, which I believe is Whiskey
Pod.
P.
Pod.
Does it come up as pod? Because every time I see it, it's Whiskey P.
Yeah, it gets cut off the last two letters.
It does, but okay.
And that's whiskey, WHISKIEE.
Right. So there's those ways of finding it. Drop us a line. Drop us a DM. Do we have an email address for the pod?
We do. It's podcast@whiskiewithwookie.com.
And that's the same IEEs.
Same IEE.
Right. So we'll wind this down. I think we've bantered enough. I hope to hear from some of you guys. I see that there are listeners. I appreciate that. Not just I see my mark in there, my 1 download, and then I know my wife and your wife downloads it, so that accounts for 3. But we've been getting some listeners, so thank you.
And we appreciate that
yeah.
because, you know what? As we said in the very first episode, if what we're doing helps one other person, then we're successful.
And again, if you find anything about this enjoyable and you keep coming back, all I ask, I don't want $1. Share it with a friend that you think will enjoy this.
Amen.
All right?
With that, have a happy and safe 4th. And,
Keep all your fingers and toes.
all right, stay safe, wear a mask, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Cheers.